Hey, welcome guys. Quick little thing I have to say here. At the time that you're watching this video, I am already on my trip. As you might know, I'm on a 3 or 2 weeks vacation in Norway, and then after that 1 week in Austria, going on a hike with my boys, which I'm really looking forward to, and I am right now there. Of course, I will keep you updated over the channel if I can have unlocked the YouTube Shorts, so you are hearing me talking in the future now. I have pre-recorded this video about the Kashtira list. I want to show you the Kashtira list that you could run on Master Duel. I will mention this in the video, so this part that you are seeing right now I have re-recorded, and now you will see the rest of the video in which I talk about this list. Keep in mind, and I will mention that also in the video, that we are, or I, at this moment of recording this video, which is the 27th of July, I'm not sure how these ratios will pan out, so at the time you see this video we might already know that, but I will say some things to the ratios and what could be replaced by something else in the video. So I hope you enjoy it, and let's look at how Kashtira could look like in Master Duel. Obviously, we don't know how these ratios will pan out. I do not think that we will get the Kashtira deck without any limitations. I think they will be limited. They are heavily limited in OCG, and they were limited pretty early there, and OCG seems to be like the blueprint for our limitations, so we can expect some limitations. For example, maybe we will get the field spell at 1, maybe we will get something like the Fenrir or the Unicorn at 2. You can see in the TCG it's also at 2. Maybe the Rysart will go to 2, but the at 1 limitation is the limitation from the TCG, not from the OCG, so keep that in mind. We don't know what will happen with number 89 Diabolist the Mind Hacker, which is a card that really made the deck, or enabled the deck to, if you never have seen that, lock basically 5 of your opponent's zone on turn 1, either all monster zones or all spell and trap zones. Locking meaning that they cannot use the zones until Kashtira Shangri-Ira, who is responsible for the zone locking, has left the field, which is pretty hard because this thing can be protected by destruction when he attaches material. So basically he has 2 materials, can protect himself 2 times from destruction, and also has 3000 defense, so pretty hard to get this thing off the board. Let's talk about the list. So I think this is the list that the Kashtira deck could look like. Obviously, as I mentioned, we are not sure when it comes to the ratios, but it's a fact that you want to run a maximum amount of Fenrir, which can search you other Kashtira monsters, of Unicorn, which can search you this spell. You don't need to play the Ogre, which can search you a trap. You will play the Kashtira, a Scareclaw that you can special summon by banishing a Kashtira card from your hand or graveyard, and then this one can attack in defense position with a 2/6 attack. Then the Rysart you will play 2 of, which is part of a combo but not the most important monster. Then you will need 3 births. The name is the game. This card rebirths your Kashtira monsters from graveyard or from the banished pile. Also, this card can normal summon for free a level 7 monster without tribute, so you can special summon the Fenrir because you have no cards on the field, then you can special summon him, and if you have a birth you can also normal summon the Kashtira Unicorn without tribute. This card is also able to, if your opponent activates a spell card. Then you can pick 3 cards out of your opponent's graveyard and banish them. So this is the strongest card in the game. This is the card that makes this deck a grindy deck. So obviously this deck can win on turn 1, but can also grind out your opponent. Then you have the Theosis, which can search you another of your Kashtira monster and special summon it to field based on the attribute that you choose for your first monster, so the attribute has to be different. Then the field spell, which gives attack points, like a lot of field spells, searches your Kashtira like a lot of field spells, and destroys a card when Shangri-Ira's effect gets activated. And then you can see the other cards here are basically tech cards. So one cool thing that you can do with Kashtira that you definitely want to do here is playing the double dimensional shifter. We have 2 in the game. Though, this is one important thing, if you are facing a lot of Kashtira mirror matches, obviously, then you can put this card out, because that's basically a brick, because your opponent also has no problem playing into the banished pile, because cards getting banished, that's no problem for you. Under the Rysart, which is your main boss monster, every card on the field will get banished, so that's what happens anyways. And as you may have already noticed, even if Tiamat is not in the meta game, the Shifter is a really impactful card that can break a lot of decks, because a lot of decks, even though they might not be like pure graveyard strategies, are pretty reliant on the graveyard. So that's why the Shifter is really impactful and can be really strong, can really be like Shifter and the game is over. Can be a bit of a maxi if you want to. But yeah, we are playing triple maxi, that's for sure. We are playing triple ash. This is also nice for ashing the Kashtira Theosis and ashing the field spell. You can also ash the Unicorn and the Fenrir. So this will not only be nice against maxi, as it always is, but will also be nice against a lot of the Kashtira cards. cards. Therefore, you will definitely play it at 3, no surprise here. Then we have the rest of the package here. You could argue that you don't need to run the crossout. Crossout sometimes is not run in these decks. And then if we are expecting a lot of Kashtira mirror matchups, you definitely want to play Nibiru. You can also play 3 Nibirus. Keep in mind though that in the TCG at first, the people were playing the like bigger board where you would definitely play into Maxi, but then came a time when Kashtira players realized that a lot of people were doing Nibiru and they switched to another form of combo. So they went for a Unicorn, getting a Fenrir on the board, getting a Rysart to the board, and then Rysart's effect can make it a level 7 monster for the turn it activates its effect. So then you have 3 level 7 monsters, and then you can, because this one needs 3 level 7 monsters, or only 1 if Kashtira Shangri-Ira's effect was activated this turn, then you can get into your Kashtira a Rysart, and so you have made 4 summons, have your boss monster on the field, and if you don't know that already, Kashtira Rysart can detach up to, no, not up to, Kashtira Rysart can detach 3 materials exactly to banish a card on the field. So because you made it with Unicorn, Fenrir, and Rysart, this already has 3 materials when you pass over, and therefore is already able to banish. Also, for every card that gets banished, so every card as long as this is on the field, because this banishes every card that goes to the graveyard, and for every card that gets banished, this can attach a card from the banish pile to it as a material. So that's why you can use this banish effect basically every turn, because obviously a lot of cards go to the graveyard slash banish pile. That is why you can play the Nibiru here, but this is also why when people figure out that a lot of people are playing Nibiru and go for the smaller line, you would put out the Nibiru. What you could then do is you can also play Lava Golems here. Lava Golem, of course, your Kashtira opponent will, with the big combo, end on a Shangri-Ira and an Rysart. At least this one you can use to get rid of both of them, unlocking your zones and getting rid of your opponent's boss monster. But you could also think about the Kaijus. I have it here, Gamesiel, but also every other Kaiju works. The Kaiju are better, or the Kaijus are better if a lot of Kashtira players will go for the play that I just mentioned with the 3 summons here and then into the Rysart on the 4th summon. Then you can, and then they will basically end up on only this monster on the field, and obviously something like Change of Heart or the Kaiju then is pretty nice, and something like Wing Dragon Dra mode, the Nibiru and the Lava Golem are worse. So it really depends on what the meta is doing. You have to keep track of it, you have to like get a feel for it when you play against Kashtira. That is that for Nibiru, the Lava Golems, the Kaijus, and the Winged Dragon of Ra Sphere mode. Then we have the pots. In TCG, we were playing Triple Pot of Prosperity, which is so nice, because you can banish your extra deck monsters and they can be reattached to your Kashtira Rysart. Just for one example, a lot of these cards work with the Rysart, though in this deck there are more like extra deck monsters that have a real usage. But for example, let's take the Infinite Goliath. This is a nice card because the text says any XYZ monster whose original type is machine, so Rysart is a machine, and has this card as a material against this effect. This card cannot be destroyed by card effect. So what you can do is you can use your Pot of Prosperity to banish your Infinite Goliath, because this banishes anyways, and then you can use your Rysart to take your own Infinite Goliath as a material under it, and then this card can no longer be destroyed by card effects. This is pretty nice, obviously, and if you then detach it to banish a card, detach 3, then once again, after one card gets banished, you can then reattach this card. You can also do cool stuff like reattaching your Kashtira Theosis from the banish pile, and if Kashtira Theosis then goes back into the banish pile, once you activate your Kashtira Rysart, this can then add a Kashtira card back from your banish pile to your hand. This is the effect of Kashtira Theosis. So there are a lot of cool interactions that you can go for with the Kashtira Rysart's attaching effect. And this is why the Pot of Prosperity is so nice, because you can choose which cards you want to banish. Unfortunately, we only have 1 in Master Duel, so you could replace them by 2 Pot of Desires. There were also some lists playing Pot of Desires over a double Pot of Prosperity or triple Pot of Prosperity, just because this deck needs a bit of consistency, and I am expecting the field spell going to 1 at the start of this deck, so then it needs even more consistency, because this is obviously one of the main searchers. You could go Pot of Desires, which is definitely worse than Prosperity, because you cannot choose, and if you don't banish your Infinite Goliath, but for example banish both Kashtira Shangri-Iras or your triple Rysart, if we get it at 3 and you play it at 3, then this is really bad, obviously. But yeah, that's that. We have Shifter, we have 3 Infinite Impermanence, which is just an awesome hand trap. Nothing to say there, one of the nicest hand trap. This is definitely the hand trap that I will decide on in basically every meta after Ash and Max C. Yeah, then we have some interesting things here in the side deck. Obviously there's no side deck, but In the TCG, a lot of people were playing stuff like triple Book of Moon or triple Enemy Controller or triple Forbidden Lands. If you don't know the card, target one face-up monster on the field until the end of this turn. That target loses 800 attack but is unaffected by the effects of other spells and traps. So if, for example, your opponent activates Change of Heart on your Kashtira Rise Heart, you can then chain this and make it unaffected, so the Change of Heart will no longer go through. So these were cards that were like pretty regular 3-offs in the deck, but I think over here in Master Duel we won't do it like that. These cards are obviously quite nice against the Mirror, Book of Moon, and Enemy Controller. Everything that flips something down is nice against Kashtira, which is just because these cards here can be special summoned to the field if there is no monster. But for example, if you special summon your Fenrir and this get Book of Moon, then you have a monster on the field, but you cannot get rid of the monster, so you cannot play along. If, for example, I destroy the Fenrir, I destroy my opponent's Fenrir, then it's okay, because if they have another Fenrir, they can just special summon that again. It's not once per turn. Or if they have Unicorn, they can then special summon the Unicorn. So destroying or sending back to hand is not that impactful against Kashtira, but flipping something down is. That's also the reason why this trap that we will get in the future, Daruma Karma Cannon, which will be nice in Labyrinth, change as many monsters on the field as possible to face down defense position. Then, if either player controls a face-up monster, so basically link monsters, because they can't get flipped down, they must send all face-up monsters they control to the graveyard. So this basically flips down everything and destroys every link monster, which is quite nice. But that's not the point of this video. So these were cards that were pretty often played at 3 over in the TCG. You could also play this trap engine here with the Ogre and the preparations for, I think, a better grind game, because preparations as well as birth is also, as the card says, during either player's turn you can special summon one of your Kashtira monsters that is banished or in your hand. So this is also able to help you with the grind game, and the Ogre is able to search this trap via its effect. Then I have a third Nibiru here. You could also play something like Dark Ruler no more, but I think this will not be the case. You will not go a main deck Dark Ruler no more. I think people will start playing Nibiru, and then people will start playing around this with the play I just mentioned, where you just go a Rise Heart, and then people will maybe change to something like the kaijus, and then other things that you can consider like Triple Tactics, the Change of Heart. But those were cards that were often in the side deck with Kashtira, but we have no side deck, so I think we have to decide on the most impactful cards. So we definitely need or want the full engine here if we can play it, if we can play the full engine. Of course, if this goes to like 1, then you can put in, I don't know, 2 Book of Moons if you want to, but or maybe the Ogre and the preparations. But we want a big engine here, so we can just like get into our engine and basically make the plays that we really want to make. Of course, we want Maxi, we want Ash. You could argue about Crossout. You could also argue about Called by the Grave, because Called by the Grave against everything else in Kashtira is not that impactful. So you could definitely go minus these cards and put maybe 3 Book of Moons here, or 3 Enemy Controllers, or something else. Also, Book of Eclipse was a really nice tech against Kashtira, where a lot of people were playing this in the main deck, because this is basically like the Daruma Karma Cannon. This changes everything to face down, but not the link monsters, and then during the end phase, everything is flipped up again, and your opponent draws 1 card for every flipped up monster. So you can flip down your opponent's whole field. This can get ashed, keep that in mind, this can't. Also Book of Moon can't. You can flip down your entire opponent's field, but then you basically have to clear your opponent's field, otherwise they get a big card advantage, which you don't want. So these are kind of, you can consider flex spots, obviously. Though if you are playing a lot of mirrors, I always have the feeling that Crossout is really nice, because Crossout is then not only Crossout Ash, Crossout Maxi, but you can Crossout basically everything, because it's a mirror matchup. Then we'll definitely go for a few of these going second cards, whether they will be Nibiru, Lava Golem, or the Kaijus, depends on what you like, what you want to invest, because these obviously are super rares, these are ultra rares. You definitely will go for pots, I think. This one also, I will play these at the start, but I'm expecting when Kashtira comes out, a lot of people will play Kashtira, so then these will leave the deck pretty soon and definitely be replaced by something like Book of Moon or Enemy Controller, which are way better against Kashtira, way better than Dimensional Shifter is. But then once Kashtira runs a bit, or a lot, not that many people are playing Kashtira anymore, then this card will definitely come back. I think this card cannot really be argued against. It's just awesome. So I think this list is kind of close to the list that we will see, but as I already mentioned, this depends on what we will get in the end. So yeah, take a look at this. Maybe you will also want to craft some of these cards. I mean, I think this is a rare or something, but cards that you definitely want is a Zeus. So if you don't have a Zeus already crafted, it's one of the safest crafts that you can do. It's just a strong card. Or stuff like, I don't know, the Nibiru, the Shifter. If you want to build a deck right now and it contains a Shifter, it's a pretty safe craft. Shifter is just an awesome card for decks that can play it, and they will always play like Exorcister or like Thorn Reese. It's just strong. You can consider that like a basic card, a staple card. But yeah, I think this is something that the Kashtira deck could look like. Obviously, we will have to see. I just wanted to make the video so you can get a bit hyped for the deck. I really like the deck. It plays a bit, I would say, so it is pretty control-ish. It can play long games and grind your opponent out. The first turn plays that you do are often like you do pretty much the same every turn, so that's something I don't really enjoy. Though I have to say, until now, this is my favorite artwork. I've heard of some people that do not like the Kashtira artworks. I don't know why. I think they are amazing. Kashtira Riser is by far the coolest boss monster I've ever seen. Even Shangri-La is cool, and it's only like a laser cannon. Or Kashtira Theosis, the Planet, Fenrir Unicorn, these are just awesome. I don't like the Scareclaw that much. I don't like the Scareclaw pictures, and this is definitely something that I like about the deck, I have to say. So recently I wanted to try to play Rika Sun Avalon, which is a really nice and strong deck, but I just don't like the artwork. I mean, it's not a big decision factor for me, but sometimes a deck is so cool in terms of artwork, for example the Kashtira deck, or so bad, for example the Rika Sun Avalon deck, that I just want to play it or don't want to play it. I don't know. Are you people feeling the same? Please let me know in the comments. So just a fun video that I wanted to make. I hope you're also excited. We will get this pack. We will get this deck. We will get it in the next pack. I would bet a bit of money that we will get in the next pack, but I think we will get it in the pack after that, guaranteed. So either in this one or in the next one. If not, I'm not quite sure what they are doing. It makes no sense. Then we may be skipping the entire archetype. I don't know. And I don't know why we should. By the way, guys, who are talking about how toxic this deck is, this is definitely way less worse. That's not how it's said. Way less worse. This is definitely less worse. I don't think this is right, but you get what I mean. This is less worse than T-Elements for sure. You can be sure of that. But this also depends on whether we get Diabolus the Mindhacker, which enables some toxic plays. Without Diabolus the Mindhacker, the whole locking down your opponent's field zones is not really that impactful and doesn't really ever come up. You may lock one, you basically lock one zone, and sometimes if you are lucky you may lock 3 zones, but I think that's the worst of it. So really excited. I hope you liked the video. If you do, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, hit the notification bell. That helps out the channel a lot. And otherwise, I wish you a great day, and we will see each other in the next one.